Alright. Probably does it. Hey guys, hey, me. Hey, it's Tech Tinka. How you guys doing? I am in hell. Ah, God damn it. It's happening again. Internet has been terrible recently, and I have no idea why. And I can't bring it up because, like, I don't. It's not that important, but, like, it keeps. Okay. So I'm trying to get back into, like, 14, right? And part of doing that is, I've been meaning to level up, Warrior more. And the way I like to level classes is by doing PvP because it brings me up the PvP track and there's always cool shit in there. So I do it and then I get more experience for it and it's nice. It's stupid the way I do it, but it's my way and I like to do it that way. Um, However, I am the internet quality is so bad. I am like dropping. I am like full dropping out of the game at least once a game, and it's annoying. And also, if I want to like run a dungeon or something, that's also fucking weird and risky. And I don't know. I don't know, man. I sure hope that the Wi-Fi decides it wants to stop shitting itself, but we'll see how that goes. Other than that, it's been going good. I have been greatly anticipating coming back to Up the Devil because it's I don't know if I've told this or mentioned this before recently. This is a really good game. This is a really good game that I really like, and I can't. Every time I'm not playing it, I'm like, oh gosh, this is such a good game. Maybe I should play it again later. Um, yeah. Now, speaking of good games, um, I've been wanting to look into Pragmata. It's expensive, so instead, I just got Mouse Detective PI. I think that's what it's called. That new like Fleischer inspired. I guess the genre is called boomer shooter. I don't agree with that, but whatever. I'm not the one who's naming this shit. Speaking of names, it is in fact called Mouse PI for Hire. That's cool and good, and I might use that in the future to get ready for that one that I did not too long ago. Well, I guess that was kind of a while ago. What was it, like 2 3 years ago? Um, Kind of a ramp up to what's it called? It just recently got a big update. I still have Steam open on the other. Nope, I closed it. Of course I did. Nope, not Faith. You know what? Hell, no. Doesn't matter. Whatever. I said it doesn't matter, but I'm still looking. Whatever. The the other big boomer shooter. You're in hell. You're a robot. Hell is full. God is dead. Blood is fuel. Something like that. You know the one I'm talking about. It's a good one. I really want to go back to it. I really do think I hit the wall on like what I can do personally as a person who plays on controller. Every time, every time I hear someone who plays game, leave. I played that game. I know how it plays. Whatever. I'm dropping frames again, and I hate it. Ah, whatever. Let's just start. I'm also eager to get into it. So I I don't have the can of what was it? The brain potion on hand today. It's in my fridge, a couple steps that away. But I've been taking swigs here and there. Uh, it has actually gotten. This is weird to say about a drink or anything. It's gotten better. It tastes better the longer it's opened in my fridge. Um, Latin weird, but it's become more palatable because it's not like bitter and sour and just right in my fucking face the whole time. Anyway. What the hell? Oh, who the hell? Right. We still got other things to look at. Which feels weird for me. I don't know why I left these two whole things right here, but whatever. The screen. I turned it on to distract Tanks long enough to grab his gun. And I remember choosing not to turn it back on. Off. Interesting setup. Powerful setup. It was blaring when we arrived. The sound system, I mean. One of the CS techs was a real audiophile. Said it broke her heart how loud they must have blared the speakers all the time. Wears it out, she said. It's true. Sound systems only last for as long as you take care of them. Sound system found at the scene of the crime. According to the ARCs, the system was still playing music loudly. It was really giving me a headache when I turned it off. Didn't enjoy having it turned back on before I left, just to leave no trace. Wouldn't count on orcas to value the longevity of their tech purchases. Through the stores where they were keeping Sosuke, where I let him off his leash. I'll leave that for when I finish in here. Okay. Who the hell is this? Who the hell are you, really? Why are you lying there dead right in the middle of my crime scene? I have a feeling it's so what? It was the good cop that got killed? I have a feeling he was making too many waves, so to speak. And he got this is a frame job. He got killed by another cop, one of the corrupt ones. Which means this is gonna go under the radar. This is gonna, if I am right, this whole case is gonna go under the radar. And nothing's gonna happen. Nobody's gonna go to prison over this if I do my job right. That was Tariq Chopin, as you might guess, patrol officer and the son of two loving fathers, who've strongly emphasized to the chief of police their desire to see justice done. Reyes wasn't exaggerating how he died. Run through from behind with a sword. So he would have been standing in front of the desk, and then he was impaled. Then he collapsed to the floor face first, and the sword got stuck in the ground. I suppose. Yeah, Dr. Sato's noted in her report that the stab wound was, in her word, jostled. Pardon? Like the attacker tried to pull it out, but it was stuck, and so they had to jiggle it around? Hey, it's probably what saved Rogers' life. Keep the client distracted and disarmed long enough to give Rogers time to rush in. Allegedly. Not where I left you, that's for sure. And according to Sosuke, the one thing he does recall after I passed the baton to him is gripping his sword. Oh yeah, I turned it off anyway. Okay. You're not giving me much to work with. Fingerprints on the grip match your client's right hand, by the way. Here I was getting my hopes up. And it definitely wasn't suicide, because no one else's prints are on the damn thing. Oh, good. Katana. Bladed weapon found at the scene of the crime, impaled into the torso of the victim, Tariq Chopin. The steel is chipped at several points, especially in the tip. Fingerprints on the handle match the right hand of Sosuke Ikariya. No other prints found. At least we did our job on that front. Blood residue at various points match the blade. Blood residue at the various points of the blade matches the DNA of the victims Chopin, Miller, and Trey. Another murder weapon I had to wipe prints off before taking my leave. I was indulgent, trying to take Trey's head off. Wasn't my only indulgence either. Must have gotten Miller's blood on the blade's tip when I dragged it across the floor. Yeah. But the aura that was farmed. You know, I ruled out suicide once he was stabbed in the back, thank you. There are papers scattered underneath his body. Did I knock him off the desk at some point? Maybe when the tall one hit the ground? Or maybe you want to swing the bat down on... Hang on. What kind of paper is this? Can't read a word. Really? You should get that looked at. My vision's 2020. What am I looking at, Miss Site Manager? Those docs are internal business, ma'am. What if I just turn these arcs off? And nothing to worry your pretty little head over. How do you know they're internal businesses? How do you know if they're internal business if we can't read them? You've really never seen red ink before? Never heard of it. It's a corporate information security protocol. Files with special flags trigger specific print commands if you try and make physical copies. It makes it use some kind of special ink. Try to take a photo of it and it becomes a bright blur. Paper special too, in which heat, humidity becomes illegible. A corpse bleeding out on top of you is a lot of heat and humidity. Red ink tech. Interesting. Information security protocols designed to hamper attempts to copy physical documents. Information system security protocol whose name has become synonymous with anti-dissemination technology in general. So it's just this corporate as to why they taught. Interesting. First developed in the mid-21st century amidst widespread concerns about hackers and newfound capabilities. After the third netcode leak. I wish I could click this link and see what that means. Just wiki dive. That's what this game's really missing. The ability to wiki dive. I am half joking. Red ink practices emphasize the vulnerability of digital systems and espouse the relative reliability of physical documents, printed or even handwritten chain. More broadly, red ink systems are designed to minimize the time that critical information spends changing hands. Critics of the teaching is this antithetical to cooperation between peers and leads to siloing of information. I would agree to that, yeah. Red ink is also commonly used to refer to any kind of printed text material that incorporates anti-piracy measures. Yeah. Common examples include anti-photocopiers, sheen gloss, paper that disintegrates outside of extremely narrow moisture conditions, cipher-encrypted text based on extinct indigenous language, and sleeper marks, printer machine codes left on the corners of documents that are invisible to naked eye but are unique to individual printers. Interesting. So these documents contain confidential data that the Blue Bloods wouldn't want getting out. What do they say in the movies? Can't confirm nor deny that. And if I subpoenaed the data? Do your worst. We got lawyers too. And unlike your client, they got all the time in the world to stall. Besides, you and I both know exactly what the Hound's motive was. And it wasn't written on those pages. It's written all over his busted up face. Sure. But you won't mind if I copy down whatever I can anyway, right? I wouldn't have any legal reason to stop you if that's what you're getting at. Thank you. Documents found at the scene of the crime mostly blotted by the blood coming out of Chopin's corpse. Apparently contained confidential information of high value, but only an occasional page number graphic or name can be spotted. Snippets include page 2 Lars required for expansion of eminent domain with proper payments to support of construction. Re-election Councilman Long to push for colloquially referred to as the lower. Hold on. I think I know what this is talking about. We had that that thing with the pillars of the community. What is being colloquially renamed to the pillars of the community? Hold on. The vote upcoming streets important OPSEC of the highest level. Hold on. It isn't here. I think it was in articles. Wait, no, it was ballot propositions. City Council Commission. No, this is school. Funding of Atlas Pillar Rejuvenation Projects. Sponsored by Chopin. His dad's. And How Industries in Wickham. How Industries. Why do I know that? Shit. Interesting. Can it be a share of it has the largest public transfer levers? Should be a favorably represented lower boards construction. Some of the city council's representative to district about descriptions of these again, but that's not arguing against architectural reality account. Just what is it that we just discovered? Yeah, pillars required for expansion of eminent domain with proper payments to support the construction. Page 403. Re-election. Councilman Long, colloquially referred to as the lower wards. Be voted upcoming. Curiouser and curiouser. Right. I think that's everything. Whoa, wait. Ooh, hello. Creek's fine wood desk. You seem particular about it. Maybe in no small part because it had a priceless gnome mask hidden inside it, but I assume you've been through this datapad here? Front to back, we didn't find anything we didn't already know. Seems like Creek was smart enough to use it for payments and nothing else. Hey, this is the data the datapad that our card got stuck in, isn't it? A simple datapad with attachment for processing non-standard identification info, commonly sold to allow payment processing for unusual rare forms. Besides some partials, fingerprints were found matching those of the Creek and Officer Chopin. Interesting. The datapad is locked to Creek's fingerprints, making it difficult for anyone else to use it. The dark card is stuck quite firmly into the attached card reader. Couldn't avoid touching it. Had to at least pretend the dark card would work. How do you manage that? Even gangsters need spreadsheets. And it's the paperwork you see scattered about. They really did everything by hand? BPP is what they call it. Over an organized crime. Paper and pencil protocol. Got their password. Happens to the best of us. Let's hope this never gets brought up. Physical card key that begins the authentication process for accessing funds. Cryptographic secure account. Without the fingerprint of their owner and the 24-digit passcode, the card alone is functionally useless. Forensics show that all fingerprints have been wiped off of it at some point. Recovered in the crime scene, stuck in the deal. The only reason I had to take my gloves off in the first place is because of this useless piece of plastic. I like that we're getting notes from like her like fucking stupid bullshit. Hate this fucking scene. The broken bat, yeah. By the way, why is this cloth being flagged? Not sure. Forensics didn't find any blood on it. Who flagged it? Lady Rockford herself. Could be that she fat-thumbed it. Yeah, I'm sure it's nothing. It's not nothing. Can we get another look at it? Ooh. Read. What are we reading? Paper scattered all over his desk. Suppose I'm partially to blame. Didn't exactly memorize the setup before I started searching for the mask. What's this? What'd you find there? Nope. Ikariya. A note scrawled into a small piece of paper reading Ikariya. Ikariya. Handwriting is, by and large, a match with the other documents penned by initialized by Creek found at the crime scene. And it's not like upside down, so it's... That seems conclusive. Ikariya. Did he misspell it at first? Yeah, he misspelled it at first. That's funny. Oh! That's what it's saying, okay. Well, hold on, confident. Why don't we hold on a little bit here, evidence screen? We don't know that he is referring to the Ikariyas. Ikariyas. It could be. He's dead, London. I was gonna let the spelling mistake slide. Right, sorry, but him? That's gotta be Makoto, right? You know Makoto? I know he's the Ikariya's heir apparent. From what I hear, he's appropriately frightening the young scion. He's an appropriately frightening young scion. Let me see, actually, hold on. Makoto, Masters, Miller. No, that's not his real name. And we're defending Sosuke. Okay, sure. Alexander Duval. Which is it, Sosuke? Is it the Count, or is it the Three Musketeers, or another one that I don't know? He's something. Why would his name be on Creek's desk? He was Creek's real target the other day. Sosuke was some kind of consolation prize. Bagging the Hound was a consolation prize. These punks had their sights set, huh? Yeah. Like no one taught them not to stare at the sun. Okay. Looks like that's everything in here. Well, I don't envy either of your workloads. It's a mess in here. It's a lot of blood, that's for sure. I'm impressed you haven't gotten nauseous, miss. You were at home here if you were poking your noses around. Shoot, I just remembered. I'll never hear the end of it if I don't check in with my partner after saying I would. What if I step out and make a call? A call? Is your partner your mom? And is your mom blind? Send a text. Thanks for your understanding. Maybe he was the one with a weak stomach. You be sure to let me know if you're feeling faint. I can keep going. We're nearly finished anyway. I'd stick to the arcs if I were you. Nothing behind that door is that's better seen in person. You've been such a gracious host up until this point, Miss Hahn. Why the cold feet now? It's ugly in there. Uglier than this? Different kind of ugly, then. All in the eye of the beholder. I warned you. Don't worry. I could stomach it just fine. So long as I can understand it. Why did Creek's pod torture my clients? I don't know that they did. Sosuke told me they electrocuted him, Han. They probably just grounded him. Low-grade currents applied every few minutes. Stops most mods from rebooting. So no SOS pings, no adrenaline bursts, pulled out his ass. And the pliers, hammers, and syringes? What purpose did they serve? Han, I understand that you're trying to represent your clients, let's say. But let me represent mine, please. And thank you. They could have just killed Sosuke when they failed to nab Makoto. Instead, they dragged him down here. Why? Try and get info on Makoto's itinerary? Get enough intel to make another run at him? There are answers for me in here. I'll need a grout scraper to find them. Let's see. Obviously, that's where he was tied up. Buckets? Oh, the whole setup here. The drugs. Drugs. And that appears to be it. So why don't we start here? Water. Cold enough to get the condensations on the outside of the bucket. Wow, that's cold. Jesus. Is that water for sponge baths? It's a simple way to keep a guest from dozing off. Temperature shocks makes caffeine looks like a sleep aid. This is coming after you claim to not know if Sosuke was tortured. You know what that other bucket's for, then? I know you said you got a weak sense of smell, but do you really need a hint here? Ah. Then this last bucket here is... What is that? Trash? Cloth and rope. Bindings. Or bandages. See? They were nursing him back to health. I'll run your theory past Sosuke next chance I got. It's mostly what's left after they were keeping Sosuke tied up with. Hardy cloth bindings. Stiff with dried blood, clearly cut with something sharp. The knife we put in his hand. They wouldn't have had to use something, yeah. The store didn't even lock. Not after I removed the bat barring from it from outside. So who is brought here, tied up? Questioned. Then he breaks out, bursts into the next room, cuts up two of his captors, and blows the other two away. That's what you think happened? That's what it looks like. Then what? Chopin runs in and turns his back on a violent criminal? Don't strain yourself trying to make it sound improbable. Cops are dumb. The hound crouched in quarter, he'd have his chance soon enough. Hell, he probably would just play dead. Walking into that scene out there, you'd think some patrol officer would go around checking pulses. And why would my client go to all the trouble to get the jump on an officer? Why not just run away? Hell, why not ask him for medical treatment? Because he was standing in the middle of the 4 men he just killed? Ugh. I know that Sosuke had no logical reason to attack Chopin, but so what? Even Sosuke himself said he would have been acting on instinct. Would instinct tell him that Chopin was in between him and escape? Alright. Let's get some hints as to what they filled them with. Hypodermics, probably not packing anything healthy. Sosuke better hope they were at least sanitized. I'm sure Sarah can treat an infection with gauze and rubbing alcohol alone. But those needles there... The design of these needles seem a little odd. Well, someone will tell you sooner or later, so... They're projectiles. Load them into a gun and fire away. Sosuke was captured by men wielding needle guns. Projectile hypodermic needles recovered from the serum where Sosuke was being held. Non-lethal anesthetics. Toby was arrested. Right. Does Cyanus Security have any peacekeeping tools they'd like to disclose as having recently gone missing? You're cursing up the wrong pipe. Creek could find tools on his own. We're not that kind of operation. An operation where the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing? Well, like the right hand's just been washed, so if you have a handle on some garbage... Cyanus is that legitimate? Why aren't all the blue bloods working legal jobs then? Not enough positions available. You gotta earn like hell to be considered for a job on the side of the fence. Creek and his pod weren't bringing in that kind of money. They liked Creek's pod where it was. Who's they? Upper management? I don't remember what... wait, yes, I do. Hold on. It's hard for me to do the voice, like, off the hand. Hold on. That masks his death sentence. Drafted specifically for one very special customer. I was the one given the honor of hanging on to it until... And did upper management like Creek? I'm just a humble site manager, miss. I wouldn't know. Sure. So, do all these needles contain anesthetics? No. There's also stimulants and barbitocene. Barbitocene. The present drug that loosens inhibitions and... Oh, interesting. They're developed as a hypnotic for active duty military personnel. Barbitocene is like barbitals. Though rarely as an anti-anxiety and anti-seizure medication. Often depicted in popular culture as the drug manufacturer's promotional materials as a truth serum. It's never been shown to function as such in the controlled setting. Compared against sampling of liquors ranging from 40 to 80 proof, barbitocene resulted in truthful confessions only 0.2% more often. The subjects admitted they were providing information that they were not good. How to tell if someone's cheating, where to buy a lie detector. See who has me muted on social media. That's funny. I got caught. I can't play with it anymore. Oh yeah, look at the code. Okay, anyway. Like the truth serum? You can get sued for calling it as such. Makes you talk to make what you say the truth. So the one says get talking. What do they ask him? If your client can't remember or isn't willing to recall, there's really no one else alive who would know, yeah? Alright. You know, frankly speaking, she was like, yo, man, you don't want to go in there. There's nothing really in here that's like any different than like what we just left. Has all this blood been tested, Miss Hahn? Enough if it has. Besides Sosuke, who else would it belong to? Bit lazy, but as long as there's more here than last time I visited. But it's not as if there's more here than last time I visited. Sosuke really did lose a lot of blood. By the time he stumbled out of here, a stiff breeze should have been able to knock the lock of the Lobotomy. Is he really such a badass that he still managed to take out a police officer before he'd even noticed? It's not as if I feel nothing looking at someone else's handiwork, the product of their violence. But it's like an artificial sweetener. No complaints for that first instant. And the aftertaste comes. Empty calories. I'll just be hungrier again, later, faster. Best to stay disciplined. I'm getting a headache. It's not from anything sensory. I should know more about this crime scene than anyone. Why can't I piece it together? I can't piece it together. The cops will never trace any of this back to me, right? So why do I feel so ill at ease? Okay, thanks for your patience, ladies. Did I miss anything? Nah. Oh. Would you have felt better if you had? I'm gonna head out now, actually. Got a long day tomorrow. You're going back by yourself, then? You sure? I can get you right out of the neighborhood. I'm sure Miss Hahn here has already made sure that we'll both get out of here without any trouble. That's her company's area of expertise, isn't it? Of course. Well, at least let me walk you out. Sure, why not? Safe travels. Hmm. So, Detective, there's something you didn't want to talk about in front of the professionals at Sayana Security? Thanks for picking up on that. Reyes will be upset if you never even checked in. Oh, Reyes will be upset that you never checked in. Yeah. Right after this, I will. This room. Right directly underneath the crime scene? Yep. Same fire escape right there. Same type of window, too. Has this room been scanned into the arcs? Yeah, but no one found anything noteworthy. Except Sionis being sloppy. So what were you actually doing when you left Han and I back there? Some Han said earlier about how no true blue would wish harm on Creek. The phrasing stood out to me, because it implied the existence of false blue bloods. Because it reminded me one of the first things I learned in this city. There are no monoliths. Megs, Walkers, City Hall, there's always factions. And among the blue bloods, the party lines are especially visible. So I made a call, not to raise, and confirm some things. And I figure I owe you a little hint or two, considering the tone of the last message I delivered. The message that warned me not to broaden the scope of my investigation. Getting hints might be a little bit self-defeating. Not these hints, trust me. So what faction did our pal Creek belong to? The Youngbloods, opposite of the old compass from the old god. The conservative blue blood leadership. All of them older than 70, some of them pushing higher than 90. Khan said Creek was too useful for anyone to want dead, but my sources don't agree. Creek talked, said things aloud that others only whispered. Ambitious, charismatic, up and coming, and beyond. Could easily see him being very unpopular with all the wrong people in the old guard. That's interesting info, Detective, but it doesn't exactly flip the case on its head. You already know who killed Creek. At least I've already decided that it's Sosuke. Learning that he had some occupational hazards will hardly convince the jury otherwise. My client's the one standing accused, and everyone already knows why Blue Bloods and Ikariyas will want to kill each other. Do ya? They're rival gangs. They hate each other. Do you know why? Same reason all the Blue Blood leadership is ancient, while all the muscles made up of orphans and delinquents. 30 years ago, the Ikariya betrayed their peace with the Blue Bloods, started killing them. And it didn't stop for days. By the end of it, every single member of the leading Blue Blood families was under the age of 40 was dead. Well, I can see how their kids would grow up to hate the Ikariya, yeah. You ain't getting it, Tiger. Their kids didn't grow up at all. If that's the case, how are the Blue Bloods still around? For one thing, Ikariya had bigger fish to fry. This is right before the Red Decade. They spent every second of the next 10 years positioning themselves so they can come out of the other end as neobility. Second, what remained of the Blue Bloods found a new niche to fill. Taken in delinquents free out of the country, driven off a cliff by adults before they could even get a chance to vote. Blue Bloods swelled their ranks to new heights by looking out for the little guys during those years, in exchange for a few favors down the line. Lastly, and most importantly, they survived because they still had hope. You serious? I am. It's a powerful weapon. Hope for what? Hope that the Ikariya had missed one, that they'd fled the country. Hope that a promised heir would grow strong and return one day. A triumphant little old with overflowing riches and overwhelming power. Sounds like a fairy tale. Those endure for a reason. Well, now you know. A warning to watch where you step ain't exactly worth much if you fumbled around in the dark. Fairy tales and warnings. What's up? Hey, did you or your pals in OC ever hear some kind of blue blood hunter? Like a bounty hunter? Or huntsman, maybe? Where'd you hear that? Sasuke thinks he might have overheard talk or something like that while he was in captivity. Does it mean anything? No. Don't like the hesitation there, detective. Just an urban legend. You know, I would have said the same thing about Unlisted before this afternoon, and yet... Fair enough. You ever see a huntsman who lives to tell the tale, I'll buy you as many lotto tickets as you want. This one feels risky, but I'm going to do it anyway. I may not be able to save Scum, but I can at least see if I made a bad decision. Hey, ever pay attention to any of this graffiti down here? Scrawlings about Lobo and Cyberpunk and HBK increasingly. Haven't seen that myself. I was going to say Red Hood. Why are you asking? Feel the chill down your spine? Yeah, except for HBK, it's all little news. Those stories and campfire tales. There are a lot of campsites around here. Lots of places to start fires. But Red Hood haven't heard that in who knows how long. One of the oldest. Rough story. Based on a real event? Nothing worth recounting. I guess I'll take your word for it. What's gotten into you that you're feeling all superstitious? Guilty conscience? You mean about working with the mafia? A psychologist would call that projecting. Ouch. Too far? Nah. Didn't feel a thing. Don't know why I asked, really. Guess I just had an odd feeling all day. Like deja vu? You been here before? No, I hate that feeling. It's whatever the opposite of that would be. The unnerving certainty that you're in uncharted waters? Scary stuff. Interesting. I'm gonna let that one lie. I'm gonna choose to let that one lie where it is. Morgan's apartment. Ooh. Ikariya, Blue Blood, Megs, Orcas. Dirty cops and criminal informants. Lines drawn back and forth across the battlefield like a spider's suspension bridge. Dizzying in its complexity for along any given strand. But one wrong move and you're completely ensnared. Priorities. The Ikariya don't care about who tore through Creek's gang. They would prefer Sasuke didn't spend life in prison for killing a cop. Blue Bloods want to tear Sasuke's throat out, but if Han's taken out a word, they're settling for 5 counts of murder. Can I take Han at her word? Is she a young blood like Creek? Or is she with the old guard? Could I have asked London that? If I had, would I have trusted his answer? Because it turns out Kasim London is much, Much harder to read than I anticipated. And I can't even trust my client to act his own self-interest. The man's a bodyguard by trade and a zealot for his house. Trial starts tomorrow. Do I need more information? Is there time to find it? No. What I read right now is a nightcap. If I can't fall asleep, then I'll know I'm in trouble. Until then, guess sleep will have to wait. It's unlocked. Oh, hello. Pardon me for dropping in at such a late hour, Counselor Morgan. Standing there at my doorway, she cut through the light like a blade of spilt ink. Oh. But twice as sharp and not nearly as familiar. It's outside normal consultation hours, miss. She purses her lips. Likely like lily petals shining away from the moonlight. Is someone catching feelings? I didn't expect him from Morgan. Outside of the courtroom, anyway. What's a smirk by any other name? Please call me Mirie. M. Ikariya. Any last name, Mirie? The question floats in the air like a curling cigarette smoke. I could tell she was used to the smell. I'll leave it up to your imagination. Self-assured and unapologetic. The unspoken family name led as a signature. Written in blood. House Ikariya. Might I step inside? She blinks. Her head turns a millimeter. A forked tongue testing the temperature of the air. She wasn't asking for permission. Just you? What about your friends in the hallway? She raises an eyebrow but keeps staring at the floor. She's surprised at my perception of the unseen threat, but not quite impressed. I don't think they need to join us, do you? She was the kind of woman to make you remember. Smoking. Damn it, I keep pointing to him. That one guy from Arknights has one, whatever. But it's all in smoke. It's all in like digital smoke. That's really cool. Mirie. Ikariya? Question mark? Probably. October 1st. Nobody gives their weight. Blood type A+. Positive. Representative. Sipping alcohol, rubbing alcohol, arachnids. Dislike sunrises, black tea, and photographers. Interesting. Favorite smell of dojo floors. Making use of people. The worst at hiding my distaste. Clearly. How can I be of service, Mirie? You're already being quite accommodating, both to me and my family's interests. I came here tonight to be of service to you. I understand you're somewhat new to this underworld of ours. I'm grateful for the offer, Mirie. But inexperienced as I am, I've gathered that the House Ikariya didn't come into its fortune by being generous. Would you like to know how House Ikariya did come into its fortune? I know you operate I know you operate a lending corporation with a significantly diversified portfolio. Yes, the good old IFG, the public face of the Ikariya criminal empire, clean shaven as it's become. And I know you founded a pharmaceutical company and profited immensely when it went public. And before that, I know your family became nobility during the years of civil unrest. No doubt by being well positioned when the time came to reprivatize our nation's interests. Yes. And before that, I know you slaughtered the Blue Bloods 30 years ago. Very good, Counselor Morgan. You've acclimated to our waters remarkably fast. What I don't know is why Makoto Ikariya has been the target of multiple kidnapping attempts over the past year. You can't fathom a guess as to why the Blue Bloods might want to ransom the family's heir? That's the only guess I can make. It strikes me as shallow. Nothing more dangerous than waters you don't know the depth of. As you said, 30 years ago, the Ikariya cartel, an unrecognizable band of brutes and drug smugglers compared to today, massacred the respectable Blue Bloods and left the geriatric leadership to die on the vine. But we thrust the knife much deeper than that. You went after their heirs and their entire future. Are you familiar with genetic factor authentication? Using DNA as a password? Blood, specifically. Easier than memorizing a string 3 billion characters long. But GFA's fallen out of favor, hasn't it? Genetic factor password security system wherein a live blood sample is provided. Using a passkey. Interesting. A unique kind of 3-factor authentication. Conducted in person with a sample acquired by a trained observation. Huh. Tiny information resources to specific bloodlines as opposed to specific groups, and their aggregated process stuff is inconvenient for most. GFA still offered, however, at some of the most prestigious and secure banks in the world, and families use particularly long lineages of the known factor. Because GFA remains accessible and need past or future offspring of some initial registries, it is sometimes offered as a wedding or baby shower gift. Interesting. How to change lost password fast. The Blue Bloods made ample use of it back then. A bad bet. They already had all their offshore accounts, business titles, property deeds. The Blue Bloods thought they'd already won, that they were establishing a dynasty. So they made their political marriages, they bound their alliances and fortunes in literal blood. GFA was both a financial and symbolic laundering of the Blue Bloods' past. Their children, now married, clean-cut and perfectly respectable, would prosper alongside wealth no longer tainted by ill-gotten gains. So that GFA investigacy became the Ikariya's checklist. We went through and crossed out anyone who could have accessed those funds. Now all of it sits untouchable overseas in encrypted digital warehouses and some of the oldest, most austere banks in the world, collecting interest that'll never be claimed. Does that answer your question as to why they target Makoto? No, and you know it doesn't. Because if they thought they could lock you out of your coffers by killing Makoto, they wouldn't be trying to take him alive. You are paying attention. I like that. We don't use GFA, and Makoto is the heir to the House Ikariya, to the Ikariya Financial. He'd never be tied to our legitimate banking information. Why not? What if he wants to buy a lollipop? A lollipop would be provided by him. The family's black market proceeds and its white market holdings must never mix. You divide your house right down the middle? Part of the expression, but how can you stand? Atop the backs of many. And you take all this division that seriously. Deadly seriously. That's our family's rule, dating back centuries. Either you serve the house, or you serve its interests. Never both. So you're assigned to either the criminal organization, what's registered as the IFG, or to managing the family's legitimate business holdings, like Renengan. But that means you are nearly as much of an outsider to the Ikariya Financial Group as you are. Neely's doing a lot of work there. Who do you answer to, though? Who controls the Ikariya's legitimate empire? Until Makoto marries his mother. And it's not you. And I take it Makoto isn't solely responsible for the house's affairs at his age? Makoto wields great authority as the heir, but yes, the house is led by his father Raphael, and more directly by his grandfather, our patriarch Daisuke Ikariya. I see. But that puts me back where I started. The Blue Bloods want to hold Makoto hostage to gain leverage on the likes of Daisuke. How can I put this? Had things gone even slightly different 30 years ago, the Blue Bloods would be the ones shaking hands with politicians, marrying ambassadors, and sitting in boardrooms. Some of them believe it can still be so, if the right match were made. So they want to marry Makoto to like a Blue Blood family? Yeah, they want to marry at a house Ikariya? But Makoto's and all the real blue bloods are older than. They'd find an age-appropriate adoption. You're missing the points. They need Makoto alive and well to negotiate that kind of reversal of fortune. So they've been trying to capture her for the past year. But every blue blood I met today seemed to care a lot more about getting revenge for their dead man than kidnapping a preteen. How many of them do you think Sosuke's cut down in the last year he spent repelling their attempts? Is that a source of internal conflict? If the old guard were throwing young bloods into an Ikariya shredder en masse trying to capture Makoto just to elevate themselves, I suppose that might total up to enough motivation for them to torture Sosuke, yeah. I had heard Sosuke was wounded. No one informed me that he'd been tortured. You know him, I take it. As you've gathered, Sosuke deals in matters unrelated to my side of the family. But he is still family. AB negative. Possible, not probable. But their colors. Who's to say? If anybody wants to know what I'm thinking about, well, let's say she might have aged gracefully. Speaking of my side, I have a duty as a representative of my wing of the house distress where we do not want this trial to be prolonged. So the bean counters don't care for the extra attention. That makes sense. Do you care about the outcome? A win is always preferable, but not a necessity. Makoto Ikariya hired me to prove Sasuke's innocence. If he's the one signing the checks. Did he say why he hired you? He hired you for two reasons. Reason one, his options were limited. More limited than he suggested, no doubt, to keep a strong front. The entire house is currently being audited by the states. A usual legion of lawyers and accountants are already billing hours as fast as they can, so he wouldn't have his pick of the litter. So one half of the family can't talk business at the dinner table with the other half, but you share a pool of lawyers. Lawyers can be trusted to be discreet, can they not? Yeah, we can read between the lines. So then you'll understand reason two. Whatever lawyer he did find for the Ikariya's usual connections would, like me, do whatever's best for the house as a whole. And not what's best for Sosuke. I'll make an amendment to three reasons. Makoto knew that if he didn't assign him any lawyer, Sosuke would just stay silent as the state dragged him off to be chained, rather than inconvenience the house any further. Well, yeah. I've known Sosuke for less than a day, and even I can tell he's never seen a cross he wouldn't jump at the opportunity to bear. That explains why Makoto would hire someone without connections to the Ikariya. You slow rolling another addendum that'll clear up on why on earth my name came across his desk? Better with crayons and times tables, I'm sure it was. I hope I've been able to Euclided matters for you, Councillor Morgan. Masterfully settled way to say we're done talking. Now I might ask you a small favor in return. Pass this message to Sosuke. If you see a way out, take it. And you understand what you're asking him to do. Even if Sosuke took a plea bargain, even if I somehow got the other charges reduced to manslaughter self-defense, the state thinks he killed a cop. The message is for Sosuke, not you. Your interpretation of it is irrelevant. End of conversation. As she reaches the exit, she turns back to look at me, lingering in the doorway, like the warm buzz of a strong, dark cocktail. But your assessment is correct. If this were just for their blue bloods, our dim little underworld could balance at the ledger unassisted. If that cop hadn't shown up last night. Do you know something about the late Officer Chopin? City in mourning after death of city councilman's beloved adoptive son in line of duty. All I know is that his funeral dirge will make those 4 boys' deaths sound like a disinterested sigh. By the way, I must admit you have a lovely apartment, Counselor. Changing subjects as subtly as a bullet train hopping its tracks. Quite spacious for a defense attorney. Yeah, place wouldn't sell after the tram route got diverted. I negotiated down the rent and then installed all the soundproofing myself. Can't open the windows without being treated to the sounds of the city then? There's always a cost. That's one mystery solved then, isn't it? Enjoy the rest of your quiet evening, Counselor. Does she know? The door glides to a close behind her, easy as a question left unasked. I'm left here hanging on a single held breath of stillness, listening as the deafened thud of their honor guards' implied violence stomps down the hall behind her. Either she's saying, I know your whole place is soundproof, so if you kill someone, you won't be heard. Or she's saying, I noticed your whole place is soundproof, so I could send my guys in here and nobody would know. Where's Sarah? I was still leaned back in my chair, staring holes into my ceiling long after the scent of her expensive tobacco had faded into null. Savoring while it lasted was beyond me at the moment. My attention's elsewhere. This case is knotted and twisted like a gnarled oak, just when I think I found my rhythm. The blade runs dull. Carving's an exercise in patience and vision. You need to start with a clear picture of what you want. I want some answers. But for now, I'll sleep. Tomorrow in court, I'll just have to keep whittling away at the wood until I fashion something halfway usable. And, well, if that doesn't work, I'll use a chainsaw. I also think... Hey, cool kid. Yeah, you, trying to look all stoic staring out the window. A little late to try and look detached after that thing you pulled the other day. Oh, no. So that wasn't a joke? Making that announcement in front of class? You trying to start a detective club or something? What mysteries? Disappearing cleaning supplies? Books not getting returned to the library? Sounds lame. Well, not like it's your fault. Everything's lame. Good luck finding members. Everyone around here already knows what they're going to do after school. And tomorrow, and next year, they're all staring down the barrel of a lucrative career in telling other companies how to provide web services or whatever the hell this school is supposed to train us for. A lawyer, if you say so, cool kid. The Megs will probably have robots doing that by the time you graduate, but sure. Law school's supposed to be hard to get into. You'll need a record that doesn't suck. Getting the club you started shut down because you couldn't get anyone to join. Wow, so confident. You really are a cool kid. I see Morgan was going through it in school too. 11 a.m. Jesus Christ, Morgan. You're a lawyer. Oh, state building. Morgan, please. This is... Hold still and relax. This will be over soon. I thought you were joking about the makeup. Of course I wasn't joking. A face like yours is invaluable in the courtroom. And you think covering me in concealer and blush and applying eyeliner will help me appeal to what demographic exactly? You know the names of all this stuff? I'm a modern man. I know the names of many things, including makeup. Is that your eyebrow gel? Yeah. It's cakey. Do you want to do the rest? I think some of the jury might find these wounds make him look rugged. And furthermore, from an aesthetic perspective, leaving some of his buttons undone will... Excuse me?
You're clearly a very devoted martial artist, Sosuke. You should be proud to display your well-defined collarbones as the fruit of your efforts.
Just hold still. Appearances matter in the courtroom. 95% of defendants who are ever seen in prison garb or trial. Blah, blah, blah. Appearances are important in the courtroom. 95% of defendants who are ever seen in prison garb at trial are found guilty. I don't doubt your tactics work, Morgan. My tactics include getting your suit pressed. Do you want me to wrinkle it back up? I just find them unpalatable. Trying to get the jury, these civilians, to pity me is shameful. I think her saying do whatever it takes is no, sorry, not do whatever it takes. If you see an opening, take it. Something like that. I think part of it is, in fact, you know, if the net loosens up a little, now there's your chance to run. But also, if you see an opportunity to eat a gun or something similar, I'll just let it hang there for a bit. Anyway, you're worried about honor? Really? You're already a cybernetic ninja, Sosuke. Don't be a stereotype. Don't call other people stereotypes.
He's right, Adonai. And he's more of a cybernetic samurai, since he's sworn himself to a wealthy landowning noble.
I'm confused, Sosuke. Isn't it honorable how your family makes their money? Made their money? I'm not talking about morality. I'm talking about having principles. Yes, they're subjective, and yes, they can be hypocritical. But the further you stray from the common path, the more you need them. I mean, what about her? What would Sarah be like if she didn't have tenants to guide her programming? That's funny. Yes, her. We saw this last case. We don't really need to. Wait, hold on. What? Let me reread this just in case. Yes, yes, yes. Once. Only if a tenant with higher weight supersedes it. Yeah, yeah. Since the number of supersedes. Yeah. Let's talk about lobbying in the insurance industry. The one tenant that could not be removed from any program was tenant safety 0. Or tenant 0 or tenant 1. Produce echoes. Yeah. Wait, what? Ah, whatever. I can only imagine. But some people, believe it or not, enjoy their freedoms. Adrift in the middle of the ocean, you're free to go in whatever direction you want. But without a compass, you'll die of exposure. If you only ever follow exactly where the compass says, you'll sail north and you'll freeze to death. The point is, if you have a compass, you know which direction north is. Fortunate for all of us, then, that the state is a 1,000,000 megawatt North Star pointing towards complacency at all times.
And the media is like the wind, and without wind, you'll get stuck in the tide.
It was a nice try, Sarah. Ah, forget it. Do whatever you want with your brushes, woman. And you're pouting again. Great. Sarah, just keep him talking. What if I'm talking? How will you? Trust me, I've done more delicate work before. Sarah, small talk.
Gladly, Adonai.
Ooh. Move on. Why don't we start with the fun stuff?
Sosuke, do you happen to have any tattoos?
Are the jury going to ask that or something?
They might.
Oh. Well, yes, as a matter of fact, I do have a tattoo. A Komainu on my back.
Komainu, a guardian dog.
You have a tattoo of a dog? It's a fierce guardian deity. Like a Labrador or like a great, fierce, big dog?
Perhaps you should have it changed to some other design, like, say, like.
Hold for applause. cheering. There's no switching. Fires are mercifully unbearable. There's no biosomos. Lift your chin a little bit. You really think they'll feel bad for me because of some scrapes? You're not good at listening to instructions, are you? Prosecution has to get 12 strangers to agree that you killed 5 men. Each charge has to be unanimous, a perfect score. So any chip damage we can do, any doubt we can sow, we take it. And any advantage we're given, we make full use of it. The advantage you're talking about is my face.
Are you really not used to this kind of attention, Sosuke?
Look, it may be true that at times some women have expressed,
And men, no doubt.
all I'm saying is that there's a difference between knowing your strengths and powdering up like this. Pretend it's war paint. Is that how you see it? No, but I'm a grown-up.
Thank you for entertaining my questions last night, Sosuke.
Did you ask you about your dimensions?
Subject might have come up.
He's like, let's maybe not talk about that. She's a talkative one, isn't she? Sorry if she kept you up all night. No, she's no... Oh, that's right. She was hanging with him the entire time. She's no trouble, just curious. Reminds me of... we discussed history. Oh, well then she must have put you right to sleep.
And then it was his choice of subject.
So you read history, Sosuke. Here, I assumed you spent all your free time frowning in the corners of rooms with your arms crossed.
We talked about the Roman Empire for your information.
And criminal empires. Nothing too detailed, I hope.
But Sosuke, I still don't understand. What did you mean when you said criminal organizations used to be structured differently?
Only that the old ways don't fit our new 21st century world.
Old ways?
Well, he's talking about race, Sarah.
Race? I don't understand.
Well, that's to be expected. After all, you share 98% of your components with a washing machine.
That is untrue and unflattering comparison.
Maybe you do get it. Look, Sarah. Names like Mafia, Bokudo, Sanhihue, they all came from different cultures, but they all refer to a kind of path. An outsider's path. And the pride that comes with living by your own set of rules. Those were the first criminal organizations. Underground guilds, lending systems, militias, secret societies. Oh sure, they were basically just big friendly charities. Then the world got smaller and people started moving around. And the mafia changed. It became a way for immigrants to band together, to have some kind of power in places that wouldn't give them a chance anything remotely respectable. But the world kept getting smaller and more complex, and eventually the community couldn't fall, let alone survive.
Why?
Not enough shared experiences.
Shared experiences. I see.
Fancy way of saying the internet came along. Well, yes, technology negates the physical distances between people. When you spend most of your life online, you end up with more in common than with people on the other side of the planet than your own neighbors. Just because of where your recommendations take you.
So the immigrant experience disappeared?
Fractured, more like, cracked into a million shards with a hammer. Well, generational or economic experiences got cemented. The world is more diverse and varied than it's ever been, in every sense. Except economically.
Wealth inequality is at historical highs.
And has been every year since before I was born. To answer your question, Sarah, that is what binds the members of a criminal organization to another. Their socioeconomic status. Ikariya is at the top, the Blue Bloods lie below us. Within each organization, wealth is concentrated among the leadership, of course, but each mafia exists in an entirely different strata.
I see. I've also read about an organization called the Rest being active here in the city. Are they in the poverty class then?
The Rest? I put them in the anarchy class. Glowing tattoos and spiked hair, chrome biceps and sharpened teeth. The Blue Bloods, for their faults, can put on a tie and go to work. Can't see the Rest experiencing any kind of social mobility. Careful, Sosuke. The rest hear you being that classist. If us wouldn't care about anything I said or who I stand with. They don't need any excuse to start ripping open models and grabbing whatever they can.
Think things like that happen in the city?
Only in the shadows, Sarah. Nowhere you'd ever find yourself. Finally ran out of steam? Off to the grim business then. How'd things go with your investigation? That bad, was it? Nonsense. It was pretty bad. What I've seen so far, there's no one else who could have killed Chopin. Even if I managed to pick apart all the evidence for the pod's deaths, I got a police officer who will swear on the stand that he arrested Sosuke standing over his partner's dead body. What's it gonna look like in there? You ever been inside a courtroom? Never as a defendant. I'm just wondering how many cops I should expect. In the galley? Sea of blue. Cheap intimidation tactics. Yes, but they can't fault them for that. We line up much the same for one of ours. You say that, yet I don't see any other Ikariya around. This is a completely different scenario. And the house can afford to appear beside a cop killer when they're being audited by the state. How understanding of you.
I don't know. I think Sosuke is sad his friends haven't shown up.
Good catch.
You were hired by Makoto of House Ikariya, weren't you, Adonai? Surely he would want to be in attendance.
Don't be absurd. Makoto should be transported anywhere without a full security team. Besides which, he shouldn't be put through the long elevator ride to this 48th floor just for my sake. What's so bad about an elevator ride?
Is he claustrophobic?
No. I mean, that yes, but you cannot tell anyone, understand? Who would I talk to? Right. Look, it's illegal to stream trial proceedings under most circumstances, but I'm sure House Ikariya doesn't mind paying a fine. They'll be watching from somewhere in the courtroom. That would be a waste of the house's coin. But I suppose they might consider keeping an eye on the case's progression. As will the Blue Bloods, no doubt.
Adonai, I think Sosuke's spirits have rallied.
Really? How can you tell? Oh shit, here she is. Our Edgeworth.
He lifted his gaze, and his eyes seemed brighter, as if...
Good. Now try and keep his spirits high.
How do I do that?
Think of something fun.
Right. Sosuke, shall we arm wrestle?
Oh, that's a bad idea. For him. He'd break his fucking arm.
Oh. Good morning, Morgan.
Morning, Emma. You seem tired. Want to push this off till next week?
Actually, that sounds...
Hey. Sorry. But we'll be facing off soon enough. Why not savor the playfulness while we still can?
Fair enough.
Losing sleep over this case?
Not really, no. Things look pretty cut and dry to me. What about you? You toss and turn all night before your big debut as a mob lawyer?
Not at all. I slept like a rock.
Lucky. I mean, I've been getting good rest more or less. He's been having a lot of late nights recently.
Late nights? Like going out?
No?
Oh.
Just late night chats.
About what?
God, look at them all. Never seen so many cops in one building. They'd bring a marching band into the courtroom if they could. Theater.
Right. Well, theater and trial weren't that far apart back in ancient Greece.
Would hope we've progressed since then.
You don't approve of this show, of course, I take it.
Isn't it obvious? I'd like to say this just because who Chopin's family is, but we both know that's not what this really is about. A cop is dead. The state wants to make it clear that it isn't tolerated.
Cops volunteer to defend our laws and protect us citizens.
Volunteers don't get paid. Besides, cops, courts, the state, all they can do is enforce the laws, not defend them. Guns and arms can't defend against corrosion anyway. Rot comes from the deep.
So you'd rather that the death of a police officer get the same treatment as any other citizen?
Suppose that's not possible. They get increasingly fewer chances to play the victim every year, and they never let the opportunity pass.
Oh, yeah, you can see them all in the background now. I'm just noticing.
No, I guess the best they can hope for is that the state makes the same show of force whenever any crime is committed.
If they treat every death like the death of a cop, maybe I would have caught HBK by now.
Oh, if they treated every death like the death of a cop, maybe I would have caught HBK by now.
You're still on that.
Of course, shooting deaths are down, but do you know how many missing persons cases there are in the city? How many deaths get written up as mod harvesting attacks gone wrong? It's a big city, Morgan. More than enough blood running in the streets for HBK to launder their kills in.
You shouldn't joke like that.
What, you don't believe me? Just last month, missing person. The report was filed by their employer when they didn't show up for work, 7 days after they'd been last seen by anyone. They were just some part-time worker. No close friends, no family. They went to work and they came home, paid their bills, and they disappeared. And no one cared or even noticed until their job couldn't get done and those bills went unpaid. No one noticed until they stopped buying in. Their body was found a full 2 weeks later. The decay was...
What happened to him?
Blunt force to the back of the head. Something metallic, with a sharp corner, we think.
It was a roughly cubed machine part I pulled from a dumpster nearby. Fit snugly in my hand. It caved through his skull like a shovel through snow.
Kicked into the bag. Might not even have been weighed down. Just thrown away like a cheap.
That's terrible. Did you find any belongings on them?
No.
So probably a mugging then, right?
No, there would have been other injuries from a struggle. And a thief who accidentally committed murder would be too panicked, too terrified to.
You know how muggers think now?
I can learn how anyone thinks. Even HBK with a robust enough profile.
Well, good luck building it on your lonesome.
I'm not working on this by myself.
Shit. Let's hope that don't toll for me.
Sorry, right. Did you want to beg for mercy real quick before we begin?
Now, where would be the fun in that? Oh boy. So she's got some help, does she? Shit. Oh. Ooh. But we can't ask because we can't seem too interested, because if we are, then that makes us in a weird position. This is a good game. I love playing Ace Attorney Dexter. Oh, don't fail me now. 48D. Are we going to get 80 again? That'd be cool.
The courtroom gallery is quite full today, isn't it?
Awash in a sea of pissed off cops. Doesn't exactly show up one's confidence, does it? 5 counts of murder would be newsworthy any day of the week. And the fact that one of those bodies belongs to a cop in the crowd was to be expected. Didn't think they'd be so quiet, though. Maybe they're all just waiting for the firing pistol before they start casting their stones. Don't let it get to you, Sosuke. They're just posturing. Posturing, I understand. I've been in attendance for my share of tense negotiations. Bloodlust in those rooms are always mutual. You don't feel any animosity towards these cops? I'm used to summoning my temper on command. Might have forgotten how to get angry for my own sake. You just worry about the jury. What about the adjunct? They cannot be intimidated by muscle, bribed with cash, or disarmed with fine tailoring. All of which makes them quite favored when it comes to prosecuting organized crime.
Have you ever been in court many times before then?
It's an eye for an eye in the world we operate in. We don't file assault charges, we just answer them. Even though that has become rare, this house is elevated. Blue blood the rest of the rebel. We're beyond their reach now. And when it comes to our peers, we communicate very differently. Just make being a bodyguard must make being a bodyguard pretty boring.
I think your work sounds very rewarding and exciting, Sosuke.
Thank you.
Especially the other day when you were captured and beaten by your rivals.
Yes. What I was trying to hint at, Morgan, is that you should not be expecting assistance from the house. Honestly, the thought hadn't even crossed my mind. Being on the winning side for once? What the hell would that even feel like?
So there won't be any men in black approaching the jury during lunch and offering them paper bags of cash?
No. Well, if we do really bad, we won't even make it to lunch, so.
Sasuke, what are you staring at? Are you looking for the jury?
No, I know they aren't here. It used to be mandated that juries be physically present for court proceedings. People felt it was important that they look the accused in the eye.
To help them evaluate their character?
Why bother? Most people suck at that. Always have. True. Perhaps it was considered part of their punishment then. To have to look them in their eyes.
A punishment for the jury or the defendant?
Alright, kiddos. Chins up, shoulders out. Show's about to start.
I just remembered. Do you think the adjunct assigned to this particular case?
Obviously, it's gonna be me.
Obviously. I mean, it's a gimme. Easy.
How?
It's 80. What are the chances?
Defendant adjunct likes mountain air gymnasts luxury. Happy couples who ask you to take their photo. How very normies explode of you. Apple on pizza until proven guilty. Wow. Shopping carts always returned. Oh, that's nice. Let he who is without sin play first or draw first. It's a reference that goes over my head. There should be at least 83 other personalities in the building network. At least.
Well, Your Honor, thank you for presiding so honorably. I do try.
Try. Because it's a trial. Tougher crowd than usual. And that's not counting the grim monolith standing out there in the galley. Who died?
5 people, Your Honor.
Yikes. What's the damage?
2 counts of manslaughter, 2 counts of homicide in the second degree, 1 count of homicide in the first degree.
But are you trying to get golden slit with all that? What's at the record-setting grind set?
The prosecution stands ready.
So shall we begin? Oh, wow. That's new. Ooh, your credit's always good here. Court is now in session. It gets fancier every time. It's great.
Now let's crack open those opening statements and get this case summarized.
Gladly, Your Honor.
People of this court. The defendant in this case is a man named Sosuke Ikariya. He was found at the scene of the crime where 2 men were shot to death, one was stabbed in the neck, another had their skull bashed in. And a police officer was impaled through the back with a sword.
Top killing piece of shit.
Please pardon any outbursts in the gallery that your mic may inadvertently pick up. Now, I understand that the scale of violence on display here today may intimidate you, but I want to stress to all of you that now that your responsibility here today is neither taxing nor complex. You will hear testimony, you will be shown evidence, and all of it will point towards the truth. That the defendant is the only individual who could have possibly committed these crimes. That is a simple fact, and the only one you need to concern yourself with. Ooh, she's as cold as ice. But every ice age beckons a kindling.
Or as it's just called, cinders and embers form champions. Defense is ready, Your Honor. And I did stick to cold logic, so I follow her with more of the same, I'll end up falling flat. Still a little safety, because it's been a while. The galley will never warm up to us. That can work to our advantage. If the jury comes to see these cops as witch hunters eager to start a fire. Ooh, okay. Choose the most outlandish words you can. Go for broke. It's not like Masters never taught me anything. I know how to do the razzle dazzle. My fellow citizens, you were brought here today because an act of violence took place that can only be described as. Unspeakable violence or bloody violence. I think I'm liking. If we're to rile them up. Come on. Bloody. I should know. I was there. Saw the blood on the ground, the bullet holes in the walls, felt the. Oh, she said that out loud. Okay, never mind. Try that again. Hold on. Backlog. I should know. I was there. I saw the blood on the ground, the bullet holes in the walls, felt the malevolence, unease, horror. Felt the horror, malevolence. Let's say malevolence. I mean, they got the last one wrong. Shit. Felt the malevolence that radiated in the air. And I also saw where my client was held prisoner. And I knew exactly where he must have stood, because his sweat and blood had stained the tile. My client, a decorated veteran, the man you see standing here next to me, not even fully healed from his ordeal. Calling it torture would be very interesting. Malevolence worked last time. But bloody didn't work the time before that. Trauma? Ordeal? Torture? We're supposed to make the jury sound like witch hunters. Rile them up, you know. What would they hate to get the most? Trauma, maybe. Ordeal. Okay. I'm gonna give myself this one. I almost never do this. Let's say ordeal. Broken bones while he was in police custody. Some of the state. Okay. I'm only doing this because no. Return to title letter preview save. I'll do it. You watch me. I'll do it. Court is now in session. Do this the long way, bum. I hope they counted against me. That'd be really funny. I wanted to count it against me. Trauma, torture. Trauma or torture? Yeah. Why didn't I call it torture? Yeah, I was right. Okay. From his torture. Was taken into police custody with lacerations, bruises, internal bleeding, broken bones. And while he was in police custody, he somehow sustained a black eye, a busted lip, a broken nose, and a boxed ear. A puzzle which I'm sure any one of the officers in the galley today would be happy to testify about. Yeah. You're gonna let her say that? Are we to object during an opening statement? Much is resting in the outcome of this trial. 5 men lie die in the morgue, one of them a police officer, Tariq. Don't speak his name, you mob lawyer bitch. Hang him up! Hang her too! This is... Hey, we all like to have fun in this courtroom. Put on a good show. That's because we're on the stage. Any more outbursts from the gallery and I'll clear the entire room. You can all watch the rest of your phones or peek in through the keyhole like a bunch of sweaty-looking looky-loos. Counselor, let's wrap this up. Yes, Your Honor. Fact of the matter is, on that night, my client was not in the condition to kill anyone. Not four hardened criminals, and certainly not a trained police officer. And nothing about my client's background, his associations, or that of his victims can change that fact. So, as you listen to all the evidence in this trial, with fairness and impartiality, as I know you all strive to, I only ask that you focus on the reality of this horrible crime, and not the fiction that the people will try and weave for you. Thank you. Decorated veteran? You're telling me you never earned a single commendation, most pickups of the day or something? Never mind. I suppose it could have gone much worse. You're too kind. I was trying to be honest. Quite got agitated, but you maintained a level head and recovered your tempo.
Adonai is a master at doing so. I've seen her make comebacks from the most nonsensical mistakes before. In martial arts, they call it ukemi, or graceful fall.
That is basically correct. Well, try not to gracefully fall over when you see the first witness on the docket, Sosuke. What do you mean by that?
Your name and occupation for the record? How can that be necessary? If some blathering idiot in the courtroom doesn't already know who I am, they don't deserve. I know, but would you consider it, if only for the sake of ceremony? Ceremony is important and should be respected. Very well. I am Makoto Ikariya of House Ikariya. My occupation is that of a student.
Trying to look so smug when you say a blatant lie.
Right, of course. And your position within the Ikariya Financial Group? Is not salaried. Must I really declare it here?
I do imagine why the noble house of Ikari is getting audited.
Sosuke, are you alright?
He... Can he see us? He can see me, Rockford, and the adjunctant. Witnesses tele-testifying don't really need much else. So he's... safe. Yes, Sosuke, he's safe. Like he was yesterday. Probably sitting right where I left him. Or standing on a box. I think the hologram's giving him a boost so he can see over the stand. That's good.
The boost to his height?
That he's safe at home.
I'm sorry that he can't see you, Sosuke.
Don't be. How horribly I failed him,
I'd like you to speak a bit about the offense on August 13th. About the last time we saw the defendant, Sosuke Ikariya.
I'm here today, not physically, but
here nonetheless, as a courtesy. That does not mean I will flap my gums like some sort of gum-flapping puppet.
Permission to treat the witness as hostile incoming.
Emma Rockford taking a spoiled brat over the coals.
This will almost be worth the price of admission alone.
I understand it was a traumatic experience, I'm sure. Anyone of normal upbringing would barely be able to recall a single detail, let alone the day's full events.
Normal upbringing?
I should probably dismiss you so that you can get back to your summer studies.
Summer studies? Like some common waif?
Waif? That's quite the vocab.
She's playing him like a fucking fiddle.
I didn't know they taught that in State Basic.
Basic?
Was I mistaken?
Listen well, Madam Rockford, as I demonstrate to you exactly how misguided you are about my powers of retention.
Please do.
Play it like a damn fiddle. Why isn't she mentioned during any of our trial preparations? Oh, you mean Rockford? Yeah, she's a beast. Hold on. I just like seeing the profiles that get updated everything. Yeah, weight doesn't count. Don't worry about it. Oh, positive. Assistant District Attorney, likes art museums, amethyst, turn-based RPGs. Good taste. Ballrooms, boards, boardrooms, and click. Flower in the mirror, moon on the water. Subject psychology. Subjects seem not to your question. That's funny. Oh, was that you? Was that you little scamp? Oh, there she goes. This is getting like weirder, harder and harder to like flick at. You see? It's yeah. Eh. Hmm. Exercises by. She didn't fucking hear me. All right, hold on. Diamante, cheers. Nice. Ooh, Sarah on the clock. That one's cool too.
Adonai has only won against her once. So far, every hot streak starts somewhere. Hot streak? I really am going to prison, aren't I? Where shall I start? As far back as you can. Simple task. For the past year, members of our organizations, most commonly referred to as the Blue Blood Mafia, have been making attempts on my life. Did they steal your lunch money or something? Did you steal their lunch money or something? I am the primary beneficiary of my grandfather Daisuke Ikariya's will. In common parlance, I am the sole heir to the Ikariya financial group. You could buy so much lunch. The group you know as the Blue Bloods have been jealous of my family's financial foresight for decades. I am merely the most recent target of their impotent attempts to nip at our heels. And 2 days ago, on August 13th, how impotent was their attempt then? I was leaving a meeting held on the upper floors of Crane Tower. My security detail escorted me to the elevators where we would then proceed down the canopy access floors. This is all planned out in advance by my head of security, Sosuke Ikariya. The elevator became stuck with unnatural timing. When Sosuke pried the doors open, we saw that we were stuck between the 62nd and 61st floors. Pried open? With a tool? Leading the witness, Your Honor. He didn't need a tool to pry open the doors. His bare hands were more than sufficient. Help Sosuke out here, kid. We submit to evidence the defendant's Akita Type 2 military-grade spinal mod, designed to enhance strength, endurance, and reflexes for high-intensity combat scenarios. Yes, sir, it is so admitted. What happens next? The decision was made that we would crawl out into the 61st floor and head for the surface elevators. Once Sosuke and I exited, the elevator started up. It was a trap. We'd been cut off from the rest of my detail. You were isolated and defenseless. That must have been hardly defenseless. Oh no. Man, she really knows how to play this kid. You really think my personal head of security wouldn't be armed? He had Yoru. Don't tell me. You named your sword? All great swords have names. Thank you, Sarah. Very well put. I hope we see more of Sosuke, but I also understand if we don't. The records show that the witness has identified Exhibit B3 as belonging to the defendant. Yeah, shit. Yeah, Sosuke's sword. Identified by Makoto as Sosuke's personal sword, Yoru. Taken along with Sosuke down to the lower wards following the ambush by Makoto. So it has in fact been identified to Sosuke. This sword was recovered in the by the police in a known blue blood den in the lower wards. Found impaled into the body of Tariq Chopin. And forensics has shown that the only fingerprints on it are those of the defendant. There's still time for you to disown it, Sosuke. You understand nothing about a swordsman's heart, Adonai. Once again, it is your paralegal that has the right of it. Perhaps she should be leading my defense. If this somehow turns into a fencing competition, I'll gladly defer to you two. So you, Sosuke, and Yoru were on the 61st floor together. What happened next? When we arrived at the service elevators, Sosuke called them, and then they made a chime. And I didn't clearly see much of what happened next to tell the truth. Figures emerged from around the corners. They were aiming weapons at me. A red dot shone on my chest. And then Sosuke was there, a needle sticking out of his arm. Yoru glinted. Sosuke had drawn it in the blink of an eye. Something glanced off of it and dropped to the floor. I saw a syringe at my feet. Yoru's sheath was thrust into my arms, pushing me back into the elevator, and it landed on my rear. That's clearly a key piece of testimony. Let's play it back 5 times. What matters is he pushed me back into the elevator with Yoru's sheath. How I landed is irrelevant and should be stricken from all public records. The only other thing I saw was Sosuke's back. He slammed his hand against the elevator's control panel and then the door shut. And that's the last time he saw the defendant. The decision was made that I should get onto a VTOL as soon as possible. But much of my details stayed behind to assess what had happened. Yes, they were very helpful in building security and recovering Exhibit 5C. This hypodermic needle gun. Hypodermic. Okay, I got it right. Needle gun fired A needle gun and projectiles found at Crane's tower. Sasuke were ambushed. This model utilizes the same kind of projectile needles recovered from the roof. Sasuke was interrogated. Fingerprints matched the victim Creek. Which one was Creek? Hold on. Let me see that again. Main guy. Okay. What kind of bonehead would leave behind evidence like that? A bonehead and a brush, perhaps, Your Honor. It does appear to have exhausted its gas canister, so it may have outlived its usefulness. I take it this weapon was a match for the projectile needles found in the room where my client was restrained? Correct. Others exactly like them were recovered from the scene of the ambush as well. Yeah. Makoto, did you see the faces of the men who attacked you? All too clearly. I can tell you every detail of their roughshod countenances. Ah, sounds like a good bit of testimony. Hit it. Oh god. Okay, what are we getting here? Yoru. A pineapple-head man and a raincoat-clad hooligan came at me first. Can I not? Oh. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Aimed at me, but Sasuke got between us and blocked every shot. With Yoru and the needles? Is what is being offered up to me? With Yoru, he could have closed the distance, but then a dark-eyed scoundrel approached from the right. That would be, the newbie, whose name I don't remember. And a man with a ridiculous pompadour took advantage of that distraction, that being Creek. I'll never forget the faces of those cowards. They tried to kill me. Okay, well, let's not be hasty here. I know they didn't actually kill you. They were using needles. So whatever happened to them afterwards, I'm sure they deserved it. Makoto's putting talents for hyperbole on full display. I'll fact check his description in order to get his ball rolling. Yes, yes, yes. Needles. Wanna bet? They didn't actually try and kill you. They couldn't have been trying to kill the witness. Not with non-lethal projectiles. They fired a lot of them. The witness doesn't weigh that much. Don't try it. This attack was clearly planned with the intent of capturing Makoto alive. Meaning what? That four of this case's victims were actually soft-hearted pacifists? There's nothing soft-hearted about what they did to my client after capturing him. Using tools clearly originally planned to use on the witness. So they're sadists. I'm getting confused here. So is the defense, Your Honor. What matters is that the witness was identified that the defendant's captors as the 4 blue blood victims that he accused of murdering. Makoto did establish that much, but something about this attack still bothers me. I won't put Makoto on the stand specifically to identify the victims. Is it possible that the men who attacked them weren't Creek's pod? I don't think so. They were attacked by some other party. They were attacked by Creek's pod. No. I'm not gonna load this one, but I'm pretty sure they were attacked by Creek's pod. Let me think about this. Hold on. Between Makoto's and Sosuke's, they were both described that way. There were things matching the things. Yeah, it was Creek's pod. I'm like mostly sure. I don't disagree, Your Honor. The men who attacked Makoto and took Sosuke captive were the same ones who ended up dead that night. But 2 questions do occur to me. Why were you safe in that service elevator if Sosuke surely collapsed at the very moment it shut? Wouldn't these men have pursued you by any means necessary? That is... I can answer that, Your Honor. When the police inspected the scene, they found that the control panel for calming the elevator on the 61st floor was broken. Smashed, in fact. The attackers would have attempted to manually pry open the doors. The attackers would have had to manually pry open the doors to even attempt to chase after Makoto. And that would take remarkable, modded strength. Did you smash the buttons for it that forcefully, Sasuke? I may have used more force than necessary. I wasn't exactly trying to hold myself back at the time. Yet the controls hard enough to break them, so the Blue Bloods couldn't pursue you further, and instead elected to take Sosuke captive. A Sosuke in hand is better than a Makoto in the bush. I thought a Makoto's security would surely have made for an invaluable source of information for planning future attacks. Were he made to talk? Are you denying that? No, but I would like to ask the witness one other question. Why did you get off the elevator in the first place? What are you... Hey, what I mentioned in the lobby earlier, that's... The mics might not be picking it up on for you, but from where I'm standing, I can't help but overhear my client groaning about how badly he failed you. That's not evidence or testimony, and so should be stricken from the record. But we get the idea. So is bailing you out early the defendant's big brain idea? As head of my personal security detail, such a decision is ultimately his to make. However, that decision may have been influenced by his knowledge of the fact that I am not especially comfortable in enclosed spaces. What the hell are you doing? Are you trying to humiliate him? In part, I'm also trying to insult you. If we simply waited, we could have remained safe, but I was not comfortable and felt very warm. So it was not a tactical failure on Sosuke's part per se, just an error of judgment. Counselor Morgan. What's up? You can disconnect the call if... Ask me another question. Ask me how bravely Sosuke defended me. Huh. So that's your angle? I can't all be as naturally gifted at extracting valuable testimony out of spoiled brats as Emma, but I can follow her example. Insult the pride of these Ikariya snap back, as reliable as any knee-jerk reaction. And in Makoto's case, with infinitely less resistance than if I had simply asked him to testify. It's usually the lawyers who do the asking of the witnesses who do the answering. This isn't very realistic. We asked that the witness testify to the court in more detail about how valiantly Sosuke fought off these attackers. And I guess the people don't object, even though it seems like super extra. No, people don't object, Your Honor. I was playing passively. Either I'm onto something here or I'm walking into a trap. Screw it, all into the former. Needle guns. Sasuke's medical records. Hold on. What exactly am I looking at here? Fingerprints match Victim Creek. Sasuke Ikariya had internal bleeding throughout. At the time of booking, numerous additional injuries. Just refreshing myself. Contents, non-lethal anesthetics. Found in his bloodstream. Tweets around. They were in Crane Tower too. Sosuke was outnumbered from the beginning and protecting me the whole time. It didn't matter that we were ambushed or that the Blue Bloods had projectiles. Sosuke took up Yoru in both hands and swatted the needles out of the air like a graceful swatter. He fought off 4 attackers without sustaining a single injury. That's true. Mock him if you dare for being captured. But that's not a failure. Not by any general's definition of the word. Here Makoto describes Sosuke's heroism. Well, hearing, it's almost more impressive the second time. He definitely fought without care for himself. And there's evidence to show it. His injuries? Various sources across the interior. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. If he was fighting somebody off, that would have a bunch of injuries across his anterior, yeah. Impact targeting. That's where he found the left hand. Okay, yeah. I think I understand.
I never feel like getting and protect me the whole time. No matter ambush with the projectiles. This can take the other in hand. Fought off 4 attackers without sustaining a single injury. You wanna bet? Unscathed is the last thing anyone would call my client after the events of that day. One look at his medical data from when he was arrested will tell you that much. What are you getting at, counselor? The defendant's injuries were sustained at the Blue Blood's den, not at Crane Tower. The police didn't even find one drop of blood anywhere near the service elevator. Well, that is a miracle. A bloodless ambush. But the fact that no blood was found actually makes it all the more painfully obvious what actually happened to that elevator panel. The elevator panel? My client broke half the bones in his left hand, smashing it up. Did you really? I might have. There was a lot of adrenaline at the time, you know. Did you not form a proper fist? Is your wrist not in alignment with your forearm? As I said, Sarah, there was a lot of adrenaline. Did you deny? I did actually see that he had like broken up the fucking bones in his hand. Do you deny that his medical record clearly shows his left hand was broken? Your Honor, what does it matter that the defendant broke his left hand closing the elevator? It means he wasn't modded. It means he wasn't as. The mods didn't make him as strong as they claimed to have made. It changes nothing but the witness's testimony. His testimony has been contradicted. His testimony stands. Let me think about this. What it revealed was that he broke his wrist. But that doesn't necessarily mean... So what about his testimony that we think were... Fought 4 attackers without saying his injury and skated last thing. Particularly there's no time. I thought he cared for himself. He fought 4 attackers and not going to dare being captured. It's not affiliated. What exactly is Morgan getting at here? Hold on. Just the whole time. It didn't matter. It's not a failure of any agent. He fought 4 attackers without sustaining a single injury. Contradicted. Well, what if it has been contradicted? What then? Whatever. I'm up. And it's only a 2 if I mess up, so... Fuck it, let's go. Of course it does. How so? Yeah, I fucking knew it. Maybe true that wrinkle doesn't change the witness testimony, but it does change the nature of the evidence you had him identify in the court. The katana? Yoru. Yoru. Its name is Yoru. We get it. Damn it, I knew it. Testimony from a code identify the creek's pod as for the men who attacked him. Wielding the katana Yoru with both hands. Oh! So if he smashed up the thing, he couldn't have actually fought with Yoru with both hands. Yeah, there we go. Bogoto claims that Sosuke pushed him into the elevator with Yoru's sheath before violently mashing the control with his left hand to close the elevator doors. So if he broke all the bones in his left hand, he couldn't have defended himself with both hands. Did you have a point to make, counselor? There's something odd about the katana that's been entered into evidence. Something that makes no sense given what we've learned about the outcome of his ambush. Namely the swords. Ooh, yeah, let me see that. Hold on. Medical records, bad thing. Sosuke sword. Fingerprints match the right hand of Sosuke's. No other prints are found. No, that matches actually. Hold on. Something that makes no sense going. We learned about the outcome of this ambush, namely the swords.
chipping blood. Fence. Tipped at several points, especially at the tip, which makes sense if it was ground to the thing, so that leads to blood. Blood residue at various points matches the blades, matches the DNA of Chopin, Miller, and Trey. It was stabbed into Chopin. Miller. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Did it say how they died? Or if they had any injuries? Hold on. No cup binding, star card, dumpster, fire escape, front door, Hans card, mag US, the coast, medical records. I'm gonna say blood. Sword is covered in blood. How can that be if no blood was shed at Crane Tower? That's right. There's enough blood to be shed in lower words to dye the harbor, including the blood of Twig Chopin, who I married. Shit. Elegantly put. What I meant to direct the court is the fingerprints of. Fuck, I knew it! Damn it! Fingerprints belonging to Sosuke's right hand. You're contradicting yourself, counselor. Before I discuss how it was your client's left hand that broke closing off the elevator. There's nothing contradictory about him using his right arm to wield the blade, which is what I was thinking when I didn't list that. Thinking me like this because Sosuke has two hands. People are correct. The sword found at the scene of the crime is my client's right hand fingerprints on its handle. Despite the fact that the witness just justified that Sosuke was swinging with both hands. Oh! Duh! So if Makoto was saying that he was swinging with both hands, but he broke his left so he didn't have any left fingerprints, then he was okay. Like a graceful swatter, specifically. Oh yeah, he did say that. So did the little tyke misremember? It was a chaotic situation where he feared for his life. The court could hardly expect him to keep track of such an inconsequential detail. Have you already forgotten my magnanimous powers of recollection? Your tactics from earlier backfired. I'll have you know that I can recite my subordinates' birthdays down to the hour. Write them all down so I can calculate their moon signs later. It doesn't matter whether the witness was mistaken about Sosuke's grip, Your Honor, because we have a much bigger issue to address. Why this sword has only my client's fingerprints on it. Makoto testified that Sosuke wielded his katana in his defense, an act of bravery that ended with my client face down on the floor of Crane Tower. He later woke up, held captive in the low. Why didn't they have... Okay, why weren't there any prints from any of the other guys? If the sword somehow got from the Crane Tower to the lower wards, they had to have moved it somehow. Okay. I'll state the obvious here and say while he was unconscious, he was moved. And so the sword we have in record must have also been handled by... It's Makoto. Creek. Base IG by Makoto, second shot, second to last dead. Fifth victim died instantly. I don't mind turning up the heat on this. I'm fairly confident that it's supposed to be Creek. Bakao. Our poor victim Creek, of course. 11. Nice. What do you mean? Sosuke was knocked unconscious at Crane Tower. That means that someone else must have brought his sword down to the lower wards. And the only person who had the people who had the opportunity to do so would have been his captors. You mean his victims? Withdrawn. Oh, yeah, I know about this. The voluntary is just not to... Cheers, I just regretted any comments that have been withdrawn. The defense is forgetting a fairly simple fact, Your Honor. There's more than one way to hold a sword. Oh, Worm? In case the defense needs it clarified, Creek could have simply held the sword by its scabbard. Creek couldn't have held it by the scabbard. What was the testimony? Makoto's testimony. Claims that Sosuke pushed him. It's a little bit different, but still. Creek couldn't have held it by the scabbard. Creek could have held it by the scabbard. Fuck, what part is the scabbard again? Shit. Let me see the sword again. Several points, especially the tip. Another brother up and try to take Trey's head off. It was an indulgence. Yeah. We don't need to focus on all that stuff down there. Scabbard. If it wasn't by the grip, are you talking about this thing? Yeah, I'm up. That's not possible, Your Honor. Makoto's already testified that Sosuke left the sword scabbard with him, and yeah, that's what I was getting at. Why do they call it different things? Damn it. Makoto's already testified that Sosuke left the sword scabbard with him when he thrust him back in the elevator. Your sheath was thrust into my arms, pushing me back to the elevator. Then I landed on my rear. I see, and since a cursed sword can't be sheathed until it's tasted blood. Yes, Your Honor, very well said. We would have found the scabbard at the Blue Blood's den if Creek and his men had taken it with him. Instead, I can imagine Makoto took it home. You think he took key evidence from his own assault and kept it from the police? Of course I did. And if I would trust officers of the law to properly handle a family heirloom as precious as Yoru's sheath. Impressive insight, Adonai. But what does this actually mean? Is there some mistake with how the evidence was handled? There's no mistakes here. This is all done with intention. The intention to frame my client. By putting his fingerprints onto the sword after the real culprit already handled it. What a load of bullshit. And the crowd goes wild. Oh, it does make a certain kind of sense. It's the truth. I did wipe the candle on his handle after removing it from Trey's throat. So it's good just have to be foolish enough to pick it up afterwards. Frustrating having to keep all my best cards up my sleeve this time around. But the look on Emma's face when I do get to toss them out is... Oh, shit. She gets her own kind of... Ooh, shit. Zero summary. She gets her own version of the chips down. The people are more than ready to counter if it pleases the court. Oh. The defense has made an admirable effort to barrel ahead with this theory. Admirable, predictable. With a foundation this weak, charging ahead and hoping the court won't notice is the only option. Let us speak of the facts. This Greek character led a targeted ambush on an heir to House Ikariya, knowing he'd be guarded by a full security team. The Blue Bloods successfully sabotaged and intercepted Makoto's elevator at the precise floor they wanted, meaning they knew exactly where he'd be and when, and they brought with them drugs capable of disabling a veteran with military-grade mods. Planning and attention to detail may be foreign concepts to the defense, they should at least be able to recognize them. So, is the defense seriously suggesting that after all that preparation, Creek's pod wouldn't bother to wear gloves? I'm glad you asked so nicely. Yeah, there's... Creek's fingerprints are all over the needle guns. Yeah, I'm keeping it max. We don't need to speculate whether they wore gloves or not. Not when we have fingerprints on a weapon recovered from the crime scene. That is... a pretty good point, actually. Guess these guys are sloppier than we thought. I imagine it's like the laugh that Genocide Jack does. But I can't do that. Especially not when I'm trying to be quiet. Those blaggers were barefaced when they attacked us. Idiots, as if they wouldn't be repercussions for their actions. The least they could have done was disguise themselves. Strike that from the record, Your Honor. Along with any future comments that suggest that Ikariya would want revenge against these victims. I was only speaking in plain truth. Creek was their leader, correct? Even if Creek wasn't wearing gloves, it's hard to imagine that none of them got their prints onto Yoru. Unless the sword was indeed wiped down at some point afterwards. Like right around the time the true culprit was looking for Sosuke to take the fall. I love the fact that the defense doesn't actually need to find out who's actually for real guilty in these, because this is a real thing and something that Ace Attorney kind of muddled in popular knowledge. Whatever. The defense attorney doesn't actually need to find who was the one who killed the people.
They just need to prove that their guy didn't do it, which is kind of what Morgan's leveraging right now. It's like, we're all looking for who's responsible for this, she says in the banana costume. Anyway.
It's a spicy theory. It's just that, Your Honor. A theory. Far-fetched, unstable theory that stacks presuppositions upon each other. Like a flapjack chef substituting quantity for quality. I'll rephrase. This inconsistency is easily answered without jumping through the defense's absurdly arranged hoops.
That's a little bit better.
We already know that the Blue Bloods had successfully taken down the Ikariya's head of security. And we already know that they went out of their way to take the defendants captive despite him not being their original target. Furthermore, as the defense has belabored, we know that they decided to take a useless piece of steel with them from the scene of their crime.
Useless?
If we ask why, the answer is obvious. Because orcas are superstitious and immature. They wanted a trophy, and what is there to do with a trophy other than polish it?
Oh. That's why she tagged the cloth.
Cloth from Creek's desk.
I knew she flagged it in the arcs for some reason. She thought this many steps ahead?
The defense is correct. The sword was wiped down before Sosuke took it up as his murder weapon. By the very same victims he'd go on to claim it with.
That is...
completely logical explanation. Damn it. How do we respond to that, Adonai?
We don't. Can't. It makes perfect sense.
So does that mean what she described? Does that mean she's described what actually happened?
Not at all. I wiped off the sword myself because my prints were on it. Same as I wiped my prints off of every other. Right. If I can't find fault with Emma's conclusion, I need to find fault with the logic that led her there.
I see. And how do you do that?
By adjusting my aim. As the people say, Your Honor, no one's fingerprints but my client's were on the murder weapon. Let him make sense if he's guilty or being framed.
And there's no evidence to suggest he's been framed because his captors had valid reasons for wiping off the sword.
That's true. They did have a good reason for to wipe off the sword. But that's not the murder weapon I'm referring to. The murder weapon was polished as a trophy. Well, what about the Magus? Hank's gun. The only princes are from Sosuke's left hand. Hello, Mr. Shattered Hand. What's going on? This gun is the murder weapon I'm referring to.
What?
The police are confident that this Mag US is the gun that was used to kill Tanks and Creek.
And your client was arrested with it on his person and has your client's prints on it.
But it was owned by Tanks.
The record shows that Sosuke has the only fingerprints on that doohickey. So that means his Tanks guy never laid a finger on his own gun?
It's entirely possible that Tanks simply liked to polish his gun too. Phrasing. So he was polishing it right up until the moment his captor grabbed it and used it against him? More phrasing. Was it before or after the internal bleeding that my client took the gun off of Tanks without him even laying a finger on it first? Before or after being tortured that he got the gun with no struggle? Could have wrestled over the gun while it was out of reach? Tanks had no injuries beside the hole in his chest. How did he get that in a struggle without so much as a scratch?
The likelihood of that scenario would seem to come down to the order in which each individual died, no?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then perhaps we ought to hear some more detailed testimony about that.
Of course. The defense has no more questions for this witness, Your Honor. We don't object.
Hold on, what are you saying? Okie dokie then, closing the connection. I said, wait, is Sosuke... Makoto seemed to be in good spirits. What did you say?
Yeah, that was his usual irreproachable self. So how can you find something about that to be depressed over? I'm ashamed that he testified at all. His appearance here runs the risk of sullying the house's visage with my mistakes. Well, he certainly couldn't slip the subpoena by claiming he had homework to do. You of all people should understand that the house doesn't have to appear in court if it truly doesn't want to. Fine levied on your accounts is always preferable to a smudge staining your reputation.
But he did testify.
Yes, and he no doubt went directly against one or more family elders to do so. He should not be incurring debts for my sake.
So he put himself at a disadvantage for you. Do you think Makoto would want you to apologize? Or do you think he'd want you to thank him?
He is young. He doesn't know what he wants yet. I'm having a lot of fun, but it's also quite late. I want to continue, but it's almost midnight, so I think I'll have to leave. Whatever. It just means more for later. And look how up I am. Ah, yeah, baby. Anyway, back to the title, please. Thank you. Sorry, Yumi. We'll see you later. Next time. This is good. I'm having a lot of fun. We started the case way earlier than I thought. Sorry. We started the court proceedings way earlier than I thought we would. I figured we'd have a little bit more time. Though doing what, I'm not sure. If I must admit. This is good. There's something under the rest of this case that I remembered but then I forgot. Hold on, what was it? Something about a frame job. And the fact that the dead cops' dads were wanting to ratify the, what was it? Pillars of the Community bill? Who's to say what the reason that guy's dead now, but mayhaps it was about sending a message. But it's too early for me to say. So, with all that being said, I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, rest of your week. Hope you're all taking it easy. And there's usually other things that I want to say, but I'm actually kind of tired right now, so I'll see you later. Bye now.